In this video, we'll build a joystick for our game controller. The simple geometric joystick form will actually be pretty easy. The real challenge will be making the transition to the organic geometry of the controller case. We'll explore a different approach with each of the two joysticks. Let's zoom in to the left joystick. A couple ideas here I want you to keep in mind is all the curves do not need to be joined to do a revolve at the same time. Also, we're utilizing the technique of making things bigger so there's always an obvious overlap or intersection. That's definitely the case here. So let's select all of these. I'm going to zoom out so I can hit that top of the axis. This will be a surface revolve. I'm going to snap there and just pick another point down below. Nice little shortcut here is full circle. And again, with separate curves, we get separate surfaces, which actually can be what you prefer if you want to have different materials. Okay, at this point, we actually have two different options. In prior videos, we went ahead and split the two pieces to each other and then joined them so that we could use the solid fillet edge command, which works very reliably. However, there's a little faster way if you have simple geometry like we do here. Let's go up to the surface menu. I'm going to select fillet surfaces, double check the radius, and also make sure trim is set to yes. The one thing you got to watch out for is we're going to pick the two surfaces on the sides we want to keep. So you definitely don't want to pick the lower section of this vertical wall. So I'm going to click here, obviously, and then the top of the case. And then boom, your trim is done along with the fillet. And so that's trimmed on the inside as well. And all those extra pieces are gone. Okay, next up is blending. So we've got a little more interesting condition here. The key with blends, though, is to remember we're not going to have a single radius fillet or surface there. We're going to actually have a variable radius, and that's why the blend can look way more interesting and organic. However, there's a couple steps we have to do. Blending cannot be done if two surfaces are touching or meeting. So you do have to take a couple extra steps to trim them back and away. I have a couple quick tips to show you how to do that. On the split button, you're going to right-click, and so we can split by isocurve. This doesn't always work, so occasionally I just click isocurve again, the command line. I'm going to click on this wall here. Now, if your isocurve is going the wrong way, remember there's always two directions for any surface. You can just click on the toggle to get it going in the direction that I'm looking at right now. So I'm going to come down just a short distance. It can be a little bit tricky here. We'll move around a bit. So that'll be where the trim occurs. Just click and then right-click to accept. So now we have that split apart. I normally would throw this away. However, I'm going to use this as a cutting tool. We're going to chomp a big hole out of the case because right now we could not do the extract isocurve. We need kind of a round curve on this case. And all of our isocurves are going in pretty much straight lines in two different directions. Okay, let's go to the surface menu, offset surface. First thing you'll notice is the red arrows. We want to make sure those are pointing outwards. It's easy to do just by clicking the surface anywhere. So each time you click, it'll switch. Let's go ahead and select the distance. I have got 2 in there by default. I'm going to try 2.5. That's the only two things I really want to worry about. So I'm going to right-click to accept. And now I've got a larger trim tool. Let's go ahead and use that. However, it's a little bit too far here and a little bit too close over here. So a little bit of nudging will take care of that. I'm just going to click once and then maybe hold down the control for a couple of smaller increments. The distance doesn't really matter. We just want to have this be closer on one side and farther on the other because there's more of a bigger gap. We're going to do splitting one more time. Objects to split is the case. Select that. Right-click to finish. And then cutting objects, again, I'm looking at the command line, is that tool we just made. Right-click. Looks like it completed. You can double-check up here. So now we get rid of all the temporary stuff. So one is the cutting tool. The next one is that part we split. And then the hole we just split out as well. To create the blend, I'm going to go back to the surface menu. Select Blend Surface. If you have a complicated set of edges, you have to click several times, but this should be very straightforward. So I'm going to click there and then right-click to finish. It was very simple. Same thing with the next one. As soon as you see the two different seams, you are done. Now, I don't want to accept this. What I'd like to do is pull these guys to probably the closest place. So you can just click and drag. So we click and drag, and then probably the two quadrants. It depends on your snapping. You can eyeball this in a lot of cases and you'll be just fine. However, I've got quadrant and perpendicular. Those look pretty much like they're straight across and the closest distance. So I'm going to right-click to accept. Now, it looks pretty cool. However, as I zoom around here, I'm noticing a little bit of twisting. So I want to clean this up. And this can happen quite a bit if you have two different kinds of surfaces. Remember, we got a revolve from the vertical part, and then we have the case with a surface from curved network. So they're not really lining up very well. Let's go ahead and add an extra shape or two. Again, this is a great time to select quadrant and perpendicular. I'm going to go to those quadrants, which will just make my job a little bit easier. And as we come across here, perpendicular, and look how that kind of straightens things out. We got a second quadrant here, kind of at 6 o'clock. And then we'll wrap it up. I think every 90 degrees is just plenty. So that's much cleaner, and we have a higher degree of control. Let's play around with these little sliders. So this is a way to give more weight, or you can think of it as gravity, from one side to the other. So notice how I push and pull away, and you can adjust the surface, either one. Of course, you can go too far. That's impossible. But you can make that as smooth or sharp as you like. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and accept that. So zoom back out. Your decision whether to go with a fillet or a blend transition can vary a lot by project. However, if my shape is organic, like this controller or maybe a character, then I usually recommend spending extra time to make a blend surface.